down the agenda from one COA and then take comments from the commission and then vote.
Okay, so I don't have to read. That is correct.
Okay. And so then when one of the commissioners COA comes up.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. We have 6 commissioners online right now.
Okay. So you're going to call Ms. Cohen is an alternate, and she'll come and sit as a member when the COA is presented by one of the existing commission members.
Just to kind of make everyone aware of that, if that happens during when we're live.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just let the TV station that you're ready to go live, and if you can just give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
You are welcome to start, sir.
The virtual special meeting and public hearing will come to order. This is the West Hartford Historic District Commission meeting. Today is Monday, June 22nd. It is 5:01 p.m. I am Michael Margolis, and I would like to welcome you to tonight's virtual special meeting and public hearing. The legal notice for the public hearing and the agenda for the special meeting are available on the town's website. The legal notice for the public hearing contains the specific call-in number for those members of the public who wish to comment on any applications before the commission. Because in-person attendance at public meetings is likely to increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19, this hearing is being conducted in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order Number 7B. Commissioners and town staff are participating by WebEx, and members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television or on West Hartford Community Interactive, Comcast Channel 5, and Frontier TV Channel 6098, or at www.whctv.org. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing, which will be on the town's website. Because of the virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before I begin. First, I ask all participants to please mute your devices when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you. If you are participating via audio only or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then please unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, I would like to describe how the hand raising process will work. Unfortunately, our conference technology does not allow us to identify individual callers by name. So when the public comment portion of the meeting begins, the moderator will randomly unmute one call in line and ask everyone to say their name at the same time. The voice that we hear will belong to the person whose line is unmuted. That person will then be recognized by the moderator and asked to restate their name and provide their street address. We will repeat this process until we have unmuted every phone line. It is very important that you say your name each time you are prompted by the moderator. If the moderator unmutes a phone line and does not hear a voice after the prompt, the phone line will be removed from the conference. If you have called in and are also streaming the meeting on YouTube or watching on TV, please silence your other device when you speak. Otherwise, there will be an echo because there is a slight delay in the TV and streaming broadcast. Third, pursuant to Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B, all speakers must state their name and title each time they speak. I will now call the roll. Each commissioner must identify themselves and then respond here or present. Commissioner Rutten.
Commissioner Tarutin is present, sorry.
Thank you. Alternate Carl Franson.
Carl Franson here, present.
Alternate Deborah Cohen.
Alternate Deborah Cohen is here.
Commissioner Lewis. Please unmute Commissioner Lewis.
Commissioner Lewis is here.
And Commissioner Howard.
Here. Commissioner Howard is here.
Thank you. Our first certificate of appropriateness is 1597 Boulevard, submitted by homeowners Andre Rutten and Natasha Charu, Bina, for new addition to rear of structure. Before we start, I should mention that the applicant, Andre Rutten, is a member of this commission, so he will not be voting on his own certificate of appropriateness. Instead, we will have seated for this vote Commissioners Margolis, Franson, Cohen, Lewis, and Howard. Mr. Rutten, would you kindly tell us about your project?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So essentially the house is old and the interior layout does not reflect the modern day, necessities. And what happens is that the rear of the house is really the main entrance. The garage is in the back of the property, so that's where the cars come in. That's where we come into the house through the rear. And there is really no mud area, no mudroom of any kind. And what happens is the back doors essentially open right into the kitchen, into a small sunroom, and then the dining room, right into the foremost, portion of the house. And everything as a result gets dragged in. Shoes, coats, if it's wintertime, summertime, beach gear and everything else. So if I were to frame a small addition off the back of the house, essentially 16 by 16 feet, mimic architecturally the rest of the house, mimic the roof line, and even though the back portion will not be visible from the historic district part, essentially mimic the upper gable, mimic how it is in the garage with 3 windows. One big simple room that will be a little lower than the main floor. So there'll be 4 probably steps going down. Crawl space, no full basement, and essentially 16 feet deep, 16 feet wide with vaulted ceilings inside. But on the outside, it will mimic the architecture of the house. Clapboard on the lower portion, the little swoop on the roof, and then the gable end, the upper portion will be obviously shingled. But again, that's not what will be seen because it will be facing the south of the property, not visible from Boulevard. Simple project, very, very simple, nothing fancy.
Thank you. Are there any commissioners who would like to ask questions of Mr. Rutten? Mr. Rutten, can you tell us, you mentioned that the clapboards would be wood. According to the plan that you've sent us, it seems there will be one set of double doors and 5 windows. Can you tell us about the materials for the windows and the roof as well?
So roof will match the house. Architectural shingles is what I have. I will match the color and put the same roofing material. Clapboards will be prime cedar as the main house too. With regard to the windows, I intend on the western side of the house where there's a double hung windows. I will match the windows I already have. So it will be the same divided lights in the upper sash, single light on the bottom sash, all wood inside and outside. On the eastern side of the house, if you look at the drawing, it's more of a transom light. I will have to order it, and that has to do with the interior really, because I intend to have some storage cabinets there underneath, and I didn't want the windows on that side to interfere. And it will be a transom light that I will order, but I also intend to have it with true divided light and wooden, no plastic windows for sure. I haven't ordered it yet, but I don't anticipate it being a problem.
Commissioners, does anyone else have?
I'm sorry, you also asked about the double doors. So there will be probably a slider. I don't know if I'm going to go with a wooden slider or not. I'll probably use something cladded just for durability's sake. But that's not portion that is visible from the historic district. So I don't believe I have to go wood. I'll be honest, it's a southern exposure. So the sun is hitting that side of the house the hardest. And the current doors that I have, wooden doors, they can't be any older than maybe 6-7 years, and they're done. They're completely ruined.
Thank you. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Rutten?
I do. Does either the
I'm sorry, please identify yourself.
Commissioner Howard, I'm sorry. On the eastern side or the western side, do you see this addition? Will you see the addition from the road, from Boulevard?
So I think from the diagonal, you will be able to see portions, not the entire thing, but you will see on the diagonal, some of it. Yes, it's not going to be completely invisible, especially the western side. It's more open. So I anticipate that western side will be visible. Probably 3/4 of that side wall will be visible.
Okay. Thank you.
On the eastern side, my neighbor has a fence, and we also have fairly high bushes. So I think at least in the spring, late spring, summer, and autumn time, you probably will not see anything. But in the winter, parts of the building will probably be visible.
Commissioners, this is Michael Margolis, the chair. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
It's Carl Franson. I just want to know what exactly could you see from the street? That's all.
You'll be able to see western wall, and then you will be able to see parts of the eastern wall. You will not see the southern wall. And some parts of the roof you'll be able to see too if you're walking down or up the boulevard on the diagonal.
From this is Michael Margolis. From the map that that you've included with your application, it seems like you're barely going to see any of it from the road. But I can see where the eastern and western sides would be visible.
So because it's narrower than the main building, a lot of it will be hidden by the original angles, corners of the house kind of blocking the view. But I anticipate that some of it will be visible. Like I said, the western side, because it's a double wide lot and the building is not in the middle of the lot, but it's on the eastern side of the lot. So there's a lot of space between myself and my westerly neighbor. So from that opening going up or down the boulevard, the diagonal allows to look into the side yard, into the back of the yard more than from the eastern side. So I think you'll be able to see from that angle.
Thank you. Commissioners, any further comments or questions? Madam Moderator, would you kindly unmute the public? And let's see if there's anyone from the public who would like to comment on this application.
Mr. Chairman, there are no public callers at this time.
Thank you very much. With no further discussion, I would like to make a motion that we accept the certificate of appropriateness for 1597 Boulevard for a new addition to the rear of the structure. I need a second from one of the commissioners, please.
A second.
I'm sorry, I have a second from Commissioner Howard. You broke up.
Yes,
Okay.
second.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lewis, how do you vote?
I approve. Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you. Commissioner Howard, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Franson, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Commissioner Cohen, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And this is Commissioner Margolis. I also vote yes. So this motion has passed 5-0. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is Certificate of Appropriateness for 60 West Hill Drive, submitted by homeowner Michael Posner for replacement of sunroom window and doors. Mr. Posner, are you with us?
Yeah, hi, Michael Posner here.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, Posner. We do have your certificate of appropriateness, but could you kindly tell us about the project?
Yeah, there's a lot of windows in the sunroom, as is typical for the construction around here. These are in pretty bad shape. They're presumably original single pane. I sent some pictures of what sort of shape the wood is and the paint, and so we're looking to replace them. Looking around, the rest of the windows in the house in the past have been replaced with Marvin double hungs, which are aluminum clad on the outside. And between that and the fact that it also, similar to the other application, faces south and is beaten up pretty hard by the sun, the product that we had put in with the application was wood, but aluminum clad on the outside. We can otherwise match the pattern of the panes, and obviously would have newer materials in terms of double pane glass and better insulation and higher quality and durability in that regard.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any comments or questions for the applicant?
Like, this is Commissioner Cohen. I'm just, I'm not seeing the photos in question. I have the certificate of appropriateness along with the attachments there, but were they also included on the document email?
Yeah, I emailed a bunch of pictures to the clerk with the application. If there's a way, I mean, if this is WebEx, I can probably try and share one if you guys want to bear with me for 10 seconds.
Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
I will. I'll try.
This is Commissioner Margolis, while the applicant's doing that, I can tell you that I did do a site visit with him one day last week. Had a look at the project, and I can confirm that all of the windows in the house are indeed clad windows, aluminum clad windows, wood on the inside and aluminum on the outside.
Can you guys see my content?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's representative. I'll try and scroll through a couple. Close up. There, that's one of the others.
So this is Commissioner Cohen again. Are these windows visible from the street?
They are, yeah, we're sort of in the inside of the loop, so some of them are and some of them are not, but probably 2/3 of them are partly hidden by foliage. But
And are the current windows that you would be replacing, are they all wood, or they also have cladding?
these are wood. I think they're original from when the house was built. You can see the paint and the wood underneath.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know how to unshare. I don't know if you guys can do that part for me.
Perhaps the moderator can, but I don't know how to stop it either. We can just leave it with that one picture up. I don't think that really matters.
Okay.
Commissioners, does anyone have other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, he can just click on the top and there should be a stop sharing button.
Okay.
There should be a stop sharing, a orange stop sharing button.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
There we go.
Learn something with these WebExes every time.
All right, commissioners, does anyone have further questions for Mr. Posner?
Mr. Chair, this is
Yes, ma'am.
Gina Verano, Deputy Corporation Counsel. I just have a question. I assume that Mr. Charu is seated again now as a commissioner member and will be voting on this certificate. And then I would ask which one of the alternates is seated for this one.
For this one, we will be seating Commissioner Franson. Thank you very much. So voting on this application will be Margolis, Rutten, Lewis, Howard, and Cohen.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Margolis. I will make a comment here that I did do a site visit, and I can confirm that the existing windows in the house, which obviously are replacements, the replacement windows, they're not from the 1920s. They are wood interior and aluminum clad. So while we generally are not fans of clad windows, while I did check and found 4 window companies that would make these windows with wood exteriors, personally, I'm comfortable with clad windows on this project. The windows are quite visible from the street, most of them because the house is basically a corner lot, and you really can't avoid seeing the sunroof on the side of the house.
Mike, this is Commissioner Cohen. I guess the question for me would be, consistency wise, I think we're pretty consistent on not allowing or not approving cladding on windows as seen from the street. So I guess I'm just wondering why we're okay with making the exception in this case.
Commissioner Margolis, well, everyone has a vote, and all of us are welcome to approve or disapprove of this particular application. Again, as a personal note, I am comfortable with this one because I believe we're matching the existing windows in the house that at one point were either approved by a previous commission or before there was a historic district commission that had domain over the West Hill neighborhood.
So this is Commissioner Cohen again. So just to clarify, all of the other windows on the front of the house are cladded except for these windows?
Correct. The only one that I know of that's not is a small attic window that is in poor shape, but it looks original. Every other window in the house has been replaced since the house was built.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Madam Moderator, do we have any members of the public? Hearing no members of the public, I would like to make a motion to accept the certificate of appropriateness as submitted on 60 West Hill Drive. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Howard, second to approve.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Lewis. Just to confirm, are we talking about 50 West Hill Drive or 60 West Hill Drive? Because you just mentioned 60 and initially it was 50.
It is absolutely 60 West Hill Drive.
Thank you.
60. Okay, Commissioner Rutten, how do you vote?
Approve.
Commissioner Rutten approves. Commissioner Lewis, how do you vote?
Approve. Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you. Commissioner Howard, how do you vote?
Approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Cohen, how do you vote? I'm sorry, you were muted, Commissioner Cohen.
Excuse me,
Oh.
Mr. Chair. This is Bina Verano, Deputy Corporation Counsel. I'm not sure Cohen is seated on this application. I think you informed me that it was Carl Franson, so I think you should be calling for his vote instead of Ms. Cohen's. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you very
that's
much.
what I had assumed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Commissioner Verano, Attorney Verano. Commissioner Franson, may I ask how you vote?
I vote in favor.
Thank you. And this is Michael Margolis. Commissioner Margolis, I also vote in favor. The motion passes 5-0. The next item on our agenda is a certificate of appropriateness for 11 Flag Road, submitted by homeowner Michael and Rene Margolis for addition of a wooden fence. As I am Chairman Margolis and have submitted this certificate of appropriateness, I cede the chair to Deputy Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you, Mike. This is Deb Cohen, Vice Chair of the Historic Commission. Would you like to explain a little bit about your project, Mike?
Sure, thank you. I'll be happy to. So we're in a historic home. It's an individually listed home in the Bishop's Corner area. The house was built in 1766. And about 10 years ago, we built a fence along the eastern border of the property, the portion that faces the Bishop's Corner shopping center where the mattress company and the yoga store and all that is. My neighbor has cut down a bunch of trees and decided to leave the piles of wood there, which is her right to do, but it's also our right to not have to look at that pile of wood. So we are proposing to add about 60 feet of wooden fence. It'll match the fence that was approved by this commission on the southern side of the property. cedar fence, cedar posts. I included a photograph in the application of the current fence, and the new fence will match that.
Thank you, Mike. Just as an aside, to the rest of the commission, this is Commissioner Cohen speaking again. I was actually dropping something off recently at the Margolis residence, and since I was on site, he showed me the area where the fence was going to go. And, you know, I can confirm that from the street, you see very little of that fencing. There's a lot of plantings, trees, and so on. And again, it's going to match the existing fencing. Do any of the other commissioners have questions? And if I'm not mistaken, we don't have anyone from the public calling in for this. So I put out a motion to approve Mr. Margolis's COA as submitted. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Rutten, I'll second.
Thank you. And Mr. Charutin, how do you vote?
Vote to approve.
Commissioner Howard, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Commissioner Lewis, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
And Commissioner Franson, how do you vote?
I vote to approve also.
And I vote to approve as well. So, Mr. Margolis, your COA is approved.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a waiver of 90-day demolition delay for 26 Selden Street, application by Sunstone Construction Services. They are the demolition contractor. I have emailed all of you, all the commissioners, link to the property listing on the West Hartford town page. I also emailed to all of you a response from the from the State Historic Preservation Office. If you don't mind, I would like to read that. This comes from Jenny Schofield, who is the National Register and Architectural Survey Coordinator of the State Historic Preservation Office. Let me back up just a little bit and explain to you what we're talking about here. So by the town charter, the demolition of certain buildings, there is no permit for demolition of a building which is 500 square feet in size larger and more than 50 years old. The permit shall not be issued until the following requirements are satisfied. And one of those requirements, the one that we're talking about here, is a completion of a waiting period of 90 days following the filing of the application for the demolition permit. No waiting period shall be required in any of the following circumstances. Number one, if the demolition of the building was proposed as part of a land use application, that is not the case. Number two, the owner of the property obtains a written determination from the West Hartford Historic District Commission and from the Connecticut Historical Commission or from their successor agencies that the structure to be demolished is of no historical significance. So that's what we're talking about here. The third reason that we would waive the 90-day demolition waiting period is if the structure had been ordered to be demolished by the Director of Health. So I sent an email to the State Historic Preservation Office. A lady named Jenny Schofield replied to me and told me that the property at 26 Selden Street is not currently listed in the state or national registers of historic places. So finding no historic significance to this structure, it is our, we have the ability to waive the 90-day demolition delay. The waiting period is really meant for us as historic preservationists to fight the demolition if the property were historically significant. Are there questions from the commissioners on this? We've done a number of them in the past. Okay, hearing no questions, are there any comments from the public? Actually, I don't think we have any public members, so I would like to make a motion that we waive the 90-day demolition delay for 26 Selden Street. Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner Cohen. I second your motion.
Thank you. And before Attorney Verano reminds me, seated for this vote will be Margolis, Rutten, Lewis, Howard, Franson. So I have a motion that I made. I have a second from Commissioner Cohen. Commissioner Rutten, how do you vote?
I vote to approve the waiver.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Gina
ma'am.
Verano, Deputy Corporation Counsel. I'm sorry, who did you have seated?
I have Margolis, Rutten, Lewis, Howard, Franson.
Okay. But it was Ms. Cohen who seconded your motion.
Is that not allowed?
Yeah, no.
Thank you. Commissioners, I need a second from someone other than Mrs. Cohen.
Commissioner Rutten, I will second.
Thank you. I have a second from Commissioner Rutten. Commissioner Rutten, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of the waiver.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis, how do you vote?
Vote in favor.
Commissioner Howard, how do you vote?
In favor of the waiver.
And Commissioner Franson, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of the waiver.
Thank you. Commissioner Margolis also votes in favor of the waiver. The motion passes. Thank you very much. The last item on the agenda, excuse me, the second to the last item on the agenda is approval of minutes for the May 18th virtual meeting. But we only have 3 commissioners in attendance today who were at the last meeting. Attorney Verano, please tell me, can 3 of us vote to approve, or do we need to wait until we have more commissioners who were at the last meeting?
This is Gina Verano, Deputy Corporation Counsel. Mr. Chair, you can proceed with 3, but you'll need the affirmative vote of all 3 to pass.
Thank you. I have emailed these minutes, and they are posted on the town website. Commissioner Lewis, do you vote to approve the minutes?
I approve these minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Cohen, do you approve the minutes?
Yes, I approve the minutes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Margolis, I also approve the minutes. So the May 18th minutes have been approved. Last item on the agenda is commissioners' concerns and comments. Do we have anything to discuss, folks? Hearing nothing, it is 5:37 p.m. and I adjourn the meeting. Excuse me.
Before we adjourn, Mr. Chair, I just want to inform the commission that historic house here up the road on the Boulevard that was foreclosed and purchased, it looks like they're about to begin working on it. They've been working on the property. A lot of trees have been removed. So I anticipate that they will be probably, we need to be on the lookout, I suppose, to make sure that they come to us, because that house will require some very extensive renovations. And obviously, we want to make sure that they comply with the district requirements.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andre.
This is Commissioner Cohen. Is there some way that we can communicate with them proactively? Mike, I think you might be on mute.
And this is Commissioner Tarutin. I do walk by there all the time, but I have not had a chance to see anyone yet, with the exception of the tree crews that were there last week, essentially full week. I think they even slept here because several very large trees were taken down. It required a crane and everything else. I do not know. I do not know whether it was an investor who purchased it and how we would.
It is going to be a reno. It's going to be a flip.
Okay, so if one of you can kindly give me the address of this property, I will email the building department and make sure that they are proactively speaking to the owners that because it's in a historic district, they're not allowed to do any exterior renovations before coming without coming before us.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Tarutin. Any other comments, folks? Okay, it is now 5:39 p.m. and I adjourn this meeting. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your attendance and your help on this one. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.